Oh, wait. No. Welcome back, comrades. Sorry about this. Let's talk about fat shaming. There are people out there who are really huge, yet metabolically healthy. You know, you don't have to be skinny or normal BMI to be healthy. Because there's a lot of overweight people who simply have a lot of subcutaneous fat and very little visceral fat. An example of really overweight people that are pretty healthy, sumo wrestlers are a good example. They have a lot of subcutaneous fat. The fat that is between your abdominal muscles and your skin. The fat that goes between your muscles and your skin. If I was a wrestler, I might be pretty small. If I wanted to be a football player, I don't know. I don't want to risk my bones breaking because basically I'm nothing but skin and bones now. With a bit of muscle left. I'd have a lot of fat left. But I eat a lot of rice. Yet I still eat a lot of carbs. Every morning when I wake up, like, if I have the time, I'd make a really large meal. You know, it's possible to be overweight and healthy at the same time. Same thing with being, because you know your BMI is not it's not an accurate indicator of your health. Because it's possible to be obese and healthy at the same time. Look at those bodybuilders. Look at those sumo wrestlers. They're overweight. Look at really tall people. But their justification for being overweight is that if you're tall and if you're like 7 feet tall and had a BMI of like 20 to 23, your bones would literally be too weak to support your height. The taller you are, you need to increase your bone density when you're really tall. There are people that are simply overweight mainly because of their huge bone density. There are some people out there who have a really high BMI, yet you could still see the indentation of the bones. Like, you could see the ribcage indentation, even though they're overweight. That's mainly... Some of the obesity is a result of having a really huge bone density. It's something related to calcium retention. Like, when I was overweight, I didn't just have a lot of visceral fat, I also had a lot of subcutaneous fat as well. When I lost all that weight, my visceral fat was the first to go. And even when I went down to a healthy weight, I had a bit of subcutaneous fat left. Now I'm gaining muscle now. When you gain muscle, it's normal to gain a little bit of weight at first, because muscle weighs more than fat. visceral fat is something you gotta be careful about. Because that's the fat you need to be worried about. That's the fat you gotta be worried about. You're okay to have a lot of subcutaneous fat, but the visceral fat is something that can cause a range of health problems. You know, not all overweight people have a lot of visceral fat. Some simply have a lot of subcutaneous fat. There are people out there that are overweight yet exercise variant. Sometimes being overweight can be a sign of a health problem too, like thyroid issues, aka Cushing's syndrome, which is Cushing's syndrome is a disorder characterized by chronically high levels of cortisol, which is a hormone that's released when you're under stress. The hormone slows your metabolism down and also stimulates your appetite. For me, I used appetite suppressants that were readily available. If you're gonna drink energy drinks, you gotta be careful. You know, the sugary versions have no effect on your appetite whatsoever, but the sugar-free ones tend to have a stronger effect on your appetite. Like, especially if you want to... The reason I ended up losing all that weight... Some people with diabetes, especially type 1 diabetes, they have to stay skinny for their whole lives. I have a bit of muscle. I'm pretty skinny, yet pretty muscular at the same time. Some of my friends I met from school I went to, from middle school and high school, when they saw that picture of my muscle gains, they shat themselves. Because when I was in middle school, I was really overweight. I had a lot of visceral and subcutaneous fat. But now, I have almost no fat left. Your healthy body fat levels should be less than 25% if you're a guy. Less than 30% if you're a lady. The reason women need more body fat than men is to prepare, in case a woman is pregnant, that extra body fat can keep the baby warm. The problem with having very little body fat is that you get colds very easily. There are people out there who eat a lot of carbs yet are still skinny. I eat almost nothing but carbs. And carbohydrates are... you need carbohydrates. Just save the keto diet if you have a lot of visceral fat. Because when you eat more fat, your body starts burning more fat. How I lost all that weight? I decided to go on something called a keto diet. Like, more of an Atkins diet. I used to eat a lot of fast food. I almost never eat fast food anymore. Why? It's kind of disgusting. But, you know, whenever I eat out, I'd eat out at a dine-in restaurant. I almost always go to a dine-in restaurant. I know they're a little more expensive, but they are worth it. They're definitely worth it. They tend to be more worth the money compared to fast food. Because, you know, fast food restaurants, they put a lot of chemicals in the food. Oh, I wouldn't want that to happen. Whenever I eat out at a Chinese restaurant, my favorite thing to eat, I like to eat General Tso's tofu. Because I'm a vegan. Like, borderline vegan, because I do eat some honey occasionally. But you gotta be careful where you get your honey. It's up to debate whether honey is vegan or not. Thankfully, I don't eat eggs, nor do I eat dairy. Because with dairy, calves are torn from their mothers and sent off to. The male calves are sent off to something called veal farms. Like, the dairy cows are subject to a lot of sexual assault, just so they could breed more dairy cows and keep up with the demand for veal. The female calves are sent off to other dairy farms, while the male calves are sent to veal farms. If I was to create a death metal song, I might think about creating one that talks about intensive animal farming. We're trying to find ways to produce honey in a humane manner, without sacrificing the bees. In biology, there's always an arms race going on. Whether it's between predator and prey, parasites and hosts, or between competitors. There's always going to be an arms race in biology. All they want to do is survive. But predators, they can't respect their prey's right to life, especially if they are obligate carnivores. Because while most animals eat meat, cats must eat it to survive. Above the ground, an old man stands on the hill. The reason people fat shame gotta be careful if you're gonna lose weight, you gotta be careful. Why do people have a stigma against fat people, like so-called fat people, when in fact some of the overweight people are actually pretty skinny? Some of that stigma comes from the health problems associated with obesity. Not all obese people develop health problems. A human can go about 3 to 8 weeks without eating before they finally die. 3 weeks before irreversible damage occurs, 8 weeks before death. But you know, smaller animals can only go very short periods of time without food, or else they're gonna die. This is because smaller animals have higher surface area to volume ratios, which means they give off heat a lot more quickly. What that means is that their bodies would have to work a lot harder to maintain homeostasis. Which is why hummingbirds flap their wings really quickly. Larger animals like humans and even elephants can go even longer without food and still maintain homeostasis. If I was to buy myself a house, I'll be ditching AC for good. Because air conditioning's really bad for the environment. If you want to feed more people, if you want people to stop cutting down trees, you gotta change your diet. Because animal husbandry requires a lot more land than you think, than a simple vegan diet. Bee husbandry, also known as beekeeping. With your goal as a beekeeper, your goal is you should try to keep the bees alive. Leave some honey out for them, because they need it too. They need the honey as well. Not just humans. I get that they need it more than we do, so we gotta leave some of the honey out for them. You know, your body can produce its own collagen and its own taurine, but cats don't have that option. They can only get it from meat and bones. Humans can get away with a vegan diet. How do we get our B12? One source of B12, energy drinks. Another one, V8 Splash. What we need to do is stop the bullfighting over in Spain, in Latin America. Mainly because it's a pretty cruel sport. Violence against animals is a pretty big problem. You can't force your morals onto your cats because they need meat to survive. If I had a cat, I'd put my cat on a leash so my cat can get his own lunch. Its own lunch. This is mainly because commercial cat food is not very healthy for your cat. In fact, they don't even have the physiology to digest it. Like, their intestines are too short. Their stomach is too acidic. Their stomach acid is too acidic for gut flora that's supposed to digest the cat food to survive. Dogs, on the other hand, dogs can get away with a vegan diet, but under close monitoring. If you go under close monitoring, your dog can get away with the vegan diet a lot more easily than a cat. Because, you know, dogs are omnivores. Cats are carnivores. Like, cats are obligate carnivores. Most carnivores are not obligate carnivores. Most of them do have some degree of herbivory in their diet. Dogs are facultative carnivores. A facultative carnivore is an animal that primarily eats meat but will eat plants when the opportunity arises. Like, if there's no meat available. Like, just like how our gut flora, E. coli is a facultative anaerobe, and Clostridium botulinum is an obligate anaerobe. Cats are obligate carnivores, while dogs are facultative carnivores. We humans tend to be more facultative herbivores, which means we're supposed to eat mostly plants, but we'll eat meat only when the opportunity arises. Humans should only eat meat in a dire situation. If it's a dire situation like a food shortage, we should go out and hunt. Only if we're in a dire situation. Only if it's a dire situation, we'll go out and hunt. It's good that cats hunt to keep the population of rodents under control. Because rodents have a bad habit of multiplying very quickly. The best thing we can do to stop cats from multiplying is... we need some feral cats in our streets to ensure the population of our pests are kept under control. Because, you know, there are sewer rats in our cities, too. They can present a big problem. Sometimes they would steal food from our grocery stores. Cats may be our solution to the problem. Cats can keep our produce secure. The only food I would feed my cat would be raw meat. I'd be feeding my cat raw meat. Cats like to bring home pretty gory presents to their owners. Sometimes they do it for their owner's birthday. If I had a cat, I wouldn't want to feed my cat a vegan diet, because it's very unhealthy. Even if it has a complete amino acid profile for the cat, they're not going to be able to digest it. What we need to do is increase the surface area of, like, if I was to genetically modify people, I'd do it for the greater good of the human race. To where our bodies can digest almost all the food by not only genetically altering, like, changing the genotype that determines the surface area of our intestines to increase the surface area, but also change the genotype that affects the length of our intestines, too. To where our intestines have high surface area and are really long. Like, to where our intestines are, like, basically, like, 40 or 50 feet long. Betrayed, oh yeah. And cats like to bring home bloody presents to their owners. Those gory gifts are... The reason cats sometimes will bring home a gory present, they're doing it to teach you how to hunt. If it wasn't for our cats, we're fucked. Humans as a species cannot live without cats. Because they're the ones that keep the population of our pests under control. When you buy a dog or a cat from a pet store, you're supporting the puppy mills behind it. Or a kitty mill. You're literally increasing the demand for puppy mill dogs and kitty mill cats. I'm better off adopting. The problem with no-kill shelters is that, for starters, it causes psychological harm to the animals that live in there for so long. There's a pretty good solution to that. What if, instead of pet stores supplying their dogs and cats from puppy mills and kitty mills, They supply them from animal shelters. The euthanasia rate would drop drastically. Like, you would never see a lion grazing. You'd never see a lion grazing. No, you'd never see them graze. They eat meat. Anyways, this is it for this video. Don't forget to leave a like if you liked this video. Dislike if you disliked it. Subscribe for more. Share this with your comrades on social media. As always, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more. And peace out.